Well, hello. Welcome to the Train Buddy Shop. And today we are going to continue putting in a FRED, which is a rear end device, flashing. That's what the F stands for. Flashing rear end device into this container car, which is a big challenge. This is an N-scale container car. And we're going to put a flashing rear end device in this. There's only one end here. These are all coupled together. So there's multiples of these. So there's no truck on this end. So this is the end, and this is where the FRED will go. All right. So without further ado, this device is being supplied by the customer. They bought it from GATR, and so you see the address and information if you want to buy one of these. He's been super nice to me and did provide a free battery and holder since I lost it. That was my fault, and that was nice of him to do that. So good customer service from these guys. In any case, let's get started now looking at what we've got. One of the first things that you want to do is to check the LED and make sure that it's working well, and they even mentions that in his instructions. It only goes one way. There's the long lead typically is plus. Let's see what he says here. 2 batteries, magnet, LED is working, right? Holding the wires to the battery holder contact, make sure the short stripped wire plus, so this is kind of backwards from the way an LED is, but this is plus for the small one. Goes to the reed switch, the other wire goes to the contact on the battery holder. Well, this one is not soldered to it, so we're going to look at this. The plus shows on this battery. Let's see if you can see that. Plus shows on the battery, right, as the top. Since that's the minus is right here, right, or that's the plus, and then this would be the minus on the bottom. Let's try this and see what happens. Yes, okay, and you can see the LED flashing right there. So that says we have a good flashing LED, so we're ready to go with that. All right. The LED itself is easier to mount if we don't have anything attached to it, so let's leave it unattached for the moment. Later on we'll solder these to the appropriate spots, and we're going to have to figure out where we're going to put all these things. So the LED is pretty obvious, it goes at the end. We're going to have to make a hole somewhere through both. This is metal, right, and this is plastic, so it'd be easier to put it through the plastic. Now we could kind of fish it through. Hopefully you can see this, right? We could fish it through some of this plastic right here, and underneath this walkway, and kind of paint it yellowish if we wanted to. We might do that. That might be the easiest way to do this. I would hate, right, to try to put it down here where there's moving parts. All right, so I want to stay away from that, and also I would have to drill through this metal, so we're going to try to avoid that. Let's try to keep it up on the top and underneath the walkway here. Let's see if there's any hole through the walkway. I don't see anything right there. I'll take another look at this. See if there's anything right in that spot right there. Well, let's go ahead and make a hole right through that little end piece right there, and then so we can pull that through and underneath the walkway, and that's how we're going to hide this. And then it looks like we need the battery. The battery can go inside of this piece. We'll have to figure out how to get that apart. Get this base piece apart, and we'll put it in here somewhere. And the reed switch should be up on top So again, we may have to figure out how to get this part apart here, and so that's where we're going with that. So let me figure out some of those things, and I'll be right back. All right, so it looks like the bottom of this has been glued on, and so I'm going to go ahead and take the bottom of this off. The top of this looks pretty clean. Even if it was glued, it looks pretty clean, so I'm not going to try to mess it up with the chisel. This is a X-Acto or many of the other companies that provide these kind of blades now. This is called a chisel blade, and if you're not familiar with it, it's got a chiseled point on one side. This is what we often use to try to break plastic joints. So if you're not familiar with that, or if you don't have a chisel blade, you might want to use that instead of the number 11 or the typical pointed blade. This does a better job. The chisel part, so this is the flat part. We're going to put the flat part down inside of here, right? And again, be very careful with this. As someone has said, this is the most dangerous tool in the workshop, because you could easily slip and hurt yourself. So again, taking time to go around this, and I'm not going to spend all my time, video time, you watching me do this, but needless to say, it's already starting to pop the glue joint. So I'm going to go all the way around that and pop it open and be back in a second. Alrighty, so as it turns out, it came out in 4 pieces. These two were glued together here. All right, so when we put them back together again, we'll make sure that the seams match up on it. This is the top, and while I thought it was glued on there pretty good, it turned out it was not. It was just kind of fitted on just laying on the top. So we've got plenty of room in there to put that. We'll have to go down through a hole through this, to get to the battery, or we could put the battery up here and put the wires up through the two. Since we have the bottom open, I guess there's no reason to put the battery in there, other than maybe center of gravity. Center of gravity may come into play there. Sure, why not? We'll put this battery down in the bottom. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to fit straight in. We'll have to put it on an angle. Oh no, it will. It'll fit straight in there just like that. Okay, well, good to know. So let's get started with drilling some holes, and we'll want to again drill a hole through this and the walkway. So let's start with the walkway. Okay. And how are we going to decide what drill to use? Well, one of the ways that I do it is I actually use a micrometer, believe it or not. A digital micrometer comes in handy for a lot of things. And this is one of those, just to get an estimation of how big of a hole or how big of a drill we need to drill. You can over drill these. I like to be more precise. We'll take the double one that's twisted here, would be easy to do, and it looks like 37 thousandths, right? So a 40 thousandths drill, and I keep twisting a little bit to see what we got. 45 thousandths, somewhere in that neighborhood. So let's find us a 40 thousandths drill. Let's see what's in our drill set. So in our drill set, it tells us how many thousandths each one of these is. We've got our largest drill we've got here is, oh look, 39 thousandths. So let's take a 39 thousandths. This is the biggest drill we've got in here. Let's use that one and see how well that does. I do a lot of things manually, right? So I have this really nice pin vise. Right, if you don't have one of these, you might want to want to look into getting them. All right. A little plug here. We have these at the Train Buddy shop all the time. And I'm going to go ahead and try to drill through this. I'm hoping this is plastic, but it may not be. It may be. Oh, well, guess what? The top piece is plastic, and the top piece. You're not being able to see this. The top piece is plastic, which is the walkway. So we might just take the walkway off and then start from that. So let's try to do that. Again, using our device. I feel the plastic or the glue joints giving way here. So we'll just do a little twist and there we go. Ta-da! Alright. So the walkway has come off. Oh look, there is a little groove right there. I thought there might be. So we're going to kind of clean that out a little bit. There's one here. Clean that out. Clean this out. And we'll want to go through this bulkhead here. We could try to carve that out. Let's see if this is plastic or metal. Hard to tell. I mean, this whole unit here is metal, but let's instead of doing it that way, let's do a little carve out with a file, and let's use one of the more aggressive files that I have is a triangular file. So let's go ahead and take the triangular file and let's just go ahead and make a notch right there. Right where it would come through that bulkhead. And again, some of you may be tempted to do this with a, oh look, it's metal. It's metal. Some of you may be tempted to do this with a Dremel, and that's fine. Again, we don't use Dremels in the shop if we can help it, because you end up marring a lot of the other details on these very, very small models if you just slip, and just, it may be good for other things, but we try to avoid it if we can. Unless we have to remove a lot of material. In this case, I'm just trying to make a notch. Okay, so it's hard to see there, but made a big enough notch in that. All right, now let's see where that notch would lie. Let's try putting the wires in there. Oh, that looks good. Let's see where that notch would lie then if we have if we put the container back into this. Now the container goes this way, so let's not screw that up. Oh, and look, it just lays in there like that. Okay, just lays right in there. So let's decide if we're going to do it this way or this way, and let's be consistent about this. A lot of detail on that end. Not as much detail on this end. So let us assume, and I didn't know if there's a front or a back. I see 48, 48. It's on this side. All right. Well, let's go with this as the correct orientation, and let's make a mark then. And you could use just about anything to make a mark. This is a standard awl. You know what? I'm just going to use a pen. All right. So we've got a black marker pen. You might want to use a pencil. Since this is going to kind of be where you can't see it underneath, just a little mark. And I've already got my drill set up, don't I? Yeah. I'm going to go below that. I want to be below that mark. So and get over here where you guys can see what I'm doing. And I've got a rib right in my way. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little mark with the chisel blade. Kind of chisel that piece of piece of rib out there. Okay. All right. Now let's see if I can get a good grip with the drill. Oh yeah, there you go. And just that quick, we've got a nice hole, right? It's right there where the walkway is. You can see the hole. Right? Let's go ahead and we can put the wire through that, like this. Okay. And we don't want to cinch this down yet, but we just want to see how this all looks when it's all put together. And need some tiny hands. Let's get some tiny hands out. Okay. Alrighty then. I think that's going to do just fine. Alright, so what we want this to do is we want this to be right up against this, so we're going to push that right up against there. We want it to be over to one side, like this. So we're going to need to dress this wire a little bit. Let me work on that for a second. Ordinarily, these would be wireless, so there wouldn't be any wires showing here. Not quite sure how I could accomplish that. We're going to allow enough wire there, and then we're going to go ahead on the inside and start wiring up this this contraption. So give me a second to measure all this stuff out. So ordinarily this would be pre-soldered or pre-wired to the battery holder. In this case, since I had lost the battery holder, and again the fellow at GATR was nice enough to send me a new one. This would be already soldered to it. In this case, it's probably a good idea that it was not soldered to it, because now I could push the LED through this. You could have done this by either unsoldering, not a good idea, but making a bigger hole and pushing the LED through the hole. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and solder to the proper leads. The long lead was the minus, which is at the bottom on this particular holder. We're going to tin the wire and tin the holder, and as is my usual, I'm going to hold these because it only takes just a second. Well, got to get the wire on the spot. In this case, I'm using this pair of helping hands, they're called. Ordinarily, you don't see me do that. The reason for doing it in this case is because I don't want the soldering iron is kind of magnetic and it will stick to things. And of course, we don't want to ruin the battery, so I took the battery out too. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and put the battery in. All right. Testing again the LED just to make sure that I haven't messed things up. Yes, we're in good shape there. You don't see it. There you go. Just for a second. I'm going to find a place for us to put this battery. We want it to be as low as possible. probably in the black plastic bottom that goes up in there. And I think I'm going to do double-sided sticky tape. The battery has to be, we have to be able to get to the battery. Have to get to the battery so we can replace it if necessary. So we may not want to re-stick this on. So I think I'm just going to sticky tape that and sticky tape this bottom right here, so that all we have to do is we'll put the two pieces, this piece, and the reed switch up in the top of this, and we'll put it all together. And then when he needs to replace the battery, he can just lift all of this out, replace the battery, and put it all back together again. All right, let me get all that together, and I'll show you when I get ready to solder the reed switch. We're going to make a hole from here up into the top now. All right, so the more I thought about it, the more I realized that what I'm going to have to do is pull a set of wires down from the reed relay. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these wires to the reed relay. I know I'm going to cut, this is the length of wire I've got. I'm going to wrap these, then I'm going to cut this, put it down through the top here, so I get these rubber band together while they're gluing up. They don't quite match, the ribs here don't quite match up, but they're close enough. Before I put it down through the top, and then I can go ahead and put the top on this with the reed relay taped to the inside of the top. So let me get on that, and then I can go ahead and slip it underneath the rubber bands, and that can be set up. And then I'll have two wires coming down through this into the connections, and we'll make the connections here with the battery. Okay, so hold on while I do that. Okay, so we've done this before. This is a double-sided sticky tape, and we're going to go ahead and put that right smack dab in the middle, or close to the middle of the top right, of the top container. And it's got some little side pieces on there. We want to try to avoid those. I'm going to put it right up against one edge this way. Then I'm going to trim it. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and trim this edge here. Right? Let's see if I can put it down here and not hurt myself. Tighten up the blade a little bit. Right? I'm just going to carve that out so that it fits right inside of the two pieces of plastic that are going to be inside of the container. This is a form and fit, they say, form and fit. So this is a fit cut. I'm taking the extra pieces of foam off of there. All right, now we're going to take another little piece there. Okay. And we're going to take the extra bond off the top. There you go. Now we've got sticky, and we've got this very delicate reed relay. And we're going to place that gingerly in here, and we're going to kind of give it a nice tamp, make sure that it stays down there. Feels sticky. That's what it's supposed to feel like. Right? So there we got, that's installed. So now that'll be up at the top. We're going to go ahead and put that on, glue that on, right? Drill a hole down through to this that comes out the bottom, and then we'll do the connections at the bottom. Okay, so Now we're going to go ahead and finish doing the wiring, soldering the wiring. So I took one wire from the top, wire from the LED, and we're going to solder those two together, and then I'm going to shrink tube those because they're just kind of out there. And then the other one from the top, what you call that, the reed switch, and that goes to the other side of the battery. And before I shrink tube that, I'm going to do a mechanical test or an electrical test, make sure that everything's working. So we're going to like do that, and we're going to do a little of this down here just to get it started. All right. And then again, I don't spend a lot of time with setup, so we're going to go ahead and look at the blinking light. It's blinking red already, which means that the reed relay is on. Right. So now we're going to try a little. You can see that. Hopefully you can see that. Oh yeah. Yeah. So now we're going to use the magnet across the top. And it goes out. On. Off. Yes. All right. Woo! I love it when a plan comes together. All right. Let me go ahead and shrink tube this. Put this in place, and then we'll finish up by get plenty of room here to pull this wherever we need to, and finish up on the back side. All right, so a little bit of a difficulty here with how this all goes together. I want to make sure that Robert, who owns this, right, he can get to the battery, because again, the battery has to be changed. So if I look at how this sets in here, by putting making this as a part of all of this, thinking about how it's structurally going to be setting just like that, all right? If he picks this up, right, to get to the battery, this is going to have to move back and forth, so he can pick it up and roll it and get to the battery and put it back. So I was thinking, yeah, that looks pretty good, just like that. There's no real need to put a base in it, except this is metal and that's a battery, and yeah, we probably don't want to have the battery rolling around in there and wiring rolling around in there and shorting that out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this plastic base in there, again to protect the battery, and we're going to put the battery down inside of here and give us plenty of room for us to move this in and out. And then we can take the top off, right, and change the battery and put the top back on. So in order for me to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double sticky tape, not using the foam sticky tape, but this is a very thin double-sided sticky tape by Scotch, and then we're going to use the foam sticky tape, also by Scotch, interesting, on the top and underneath the battery. And then that will hold that in place as we put this and finish this up. Alrighty then, you betcha. So now we've got the battery in place and it's stuck down pretty well. The black part base is in well and double sticky taped in. All right, so now we're going to finish this up. And the first thing we're going to do is put the top on. Now remember, this is something that has to not be glued in place because we have to be able to get in and change the battery. So we're going to put that down here. Hopefully everything goes well. Okay, what's happening there? We got something that's connected or in keeping it from going in. The battery? I thought the battery went up in there. Oh. So the situation is where I put, I thought I was being clever here, right? But you see the little rib that's on the inside right here? Well, those ribs, right, just happen to be where the battery is. I'm going to have to move the battery to the center. I'm going to have to move it over to the center where those ribs aren't. So just a second. Almost done. There we go. Better. And notice it's like where the ribs are not. So that's, see if it's going to pull together now. 1, 2, 3. Come on. Now I got wires in the way now. Come on. I know you can do it. Aha! Ta-da! Okay. I think you're in a circus, huh? All right, now to finish this up, we're going to go ahead and connect the LED. We're going to put the LED where it needs to be out here. So I'm going to pull it out just a little bit. All right. Connect it on the end. Put the walkway back. Remember the walkway? Yeah, we're going to put the walkway back. All right. And then I'm going to paint up the end of the LED to make it look like it's a FRED. Right? And we'll be done. All right, so we'll be back in just a half second here. We'll get the walkway on. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I had the LED in exactly the right place. We want it to be a little bit off center, mainly to the, I call it the right hand side, but let's see if it's going to the engineer's side for whatever reason. That's typically where they lay. Ordinarily it's on the coupler pocket. The coupler pocket is body mounted usually, and these are truck mounted. So this is about the right spot for it. I wanted to make sure that from the top, right, it was flush across the top. And again, a lot of people are not going to go to this kind of trouble, but I do. And then, so this is exactly where I want it. I want it to stay there. So I'm going to super glue right there at that corner. All right, so as I'm putting this back together again, one of the things that I noticed was that where I put the wire, there was a rib on the back of this that went down through those little holes. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to carve out in this rib before I put the walkway back on. So give me a few seconds and I'm going to handle that. And it would just be almost finished, Alrighty then, the ribs are gone. You see that? Rib is gone. So now we're able to turn it over. It should fit up inside of there nice and flat. It does, and in place. Okay, let's see if we can focus. There you go. Yeah. Good to go. I'm going to go ahead now and glue that. I'm going to use super glue because now look, we've got 3 different types of things. We've got different kinds of material. We've got, this is the yellow part here is metal. Okay, the silver walkway is a styrene plastic, and then you've got the plastic that's on the wires there. So in order to get them all together, I'm going to use super glue, and then just a touch. And we've talked about this before. My special train buddy, which is a broken off sewing needle, and you can see the tongs on there, just puts just the tiniest drop of super glue. So I put it in a little bottle cap, and super glue stays in there for a while, and just pick up the super glue and put it in place. So I'm going to do that, and we'll just be just about done. I keep saying that, but just a minute or two. Alrighty, a little bit of paint. So we're going to try to cover up the wires And we're going to use a toothpick. Yeah, it doesn't take much, right? You might even be able to get the paint out of the cap here, but use a little toothpick, and we're going to put a little yellow on here. See how it looks? A little too bright, huh? A little too bright. Yeah. Maybe you can weather that up with some black, but let's try this like it is. Worked good on the other car we had. Oop. Way too much yellow. All right, we'll dirty that up here in a second. And then the other paint that we want to put on it is we want to put silver on around the FRED. So we got some silver paint here, and we're gonna. Oh, look! We can use the other end of the toothpick. You know, what's this they say? Waste not, want not. Okay. So we're going to use the other end of the toothpick, dip it into some silver paint, and we're going to be just around the edges, because it's actually white on this edge. So we're going to a little silver on that side, and put a little silver on this side. Well, it's hard to see, isn't it? A little silver on that side, like that. Now we got too much silver. All right, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. We'll throw our toothpick away. Disposable brushes, huh? Put our paint up. See how that looks? Oh, look, I got paint all over me. See how that looks? Yeah, a little rough. We'll clean it up here in a second. Paint all over me. Paint everywhere. I hate painting. Like the electronics, but don't like the paint. All right, I'm going to actually use I'm going to use a toothpick to clean this up. Now, again, I'm just going to use some, paper towel and toothpick, and where I've got extra paint there, I'm just going to pull it out, right? And watch me do this. Just pull it out and clean it off. I need to dirty it up a little bit. Maybe I'll just use I know you would never do this, but use a little magic marker. Ruined my magic marker. Yeah, it's getting there. And dry that off a little bit, and we'll see what it looks like when it's turned on, huh? How's that? Not too bad. Not too bad. Let me clean that paint up. Yeah. Alrighty then, we got it all cleaned up. That's not bad. Not too bad. No. Let it dry a little bit, and if we have to, we can go back over it with some weathering. Yeah, that's not too bad. All right, I'm going to check the coupler, And we're ready to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Thanks.